Today we got a hot guest for you today, Dr. Rhonda Kalasho. She's a graduate from the prestigious UCLA School of Dentistry, which is consistently ranked as the #1 dental school in the United States. She completed an extended residency in hospital dentistry at UCSD VA San Diego. Dr. Kalasho is trained in placement of implants and wisdom teeth extraction. She has also been trained in advanced endodontics through the VA San Diego and is world renowned as a dental expert in everything dentistry. She's been quoted in over 400 articles online, including Forbes, Allure, Woman's Health Magazine, New Beauty, and many more. She is a board certified dentist who is highly regarded for her aesthetic workmanship. She is also one of a handful of graduates who has received advanced residency training in full mouth reconstruction and hospital dentistry. She's a member of the American Academy of General Dentistry and American Academy of Facial Aesthetics. It is an honor to have you on the program. Thanks for coming on.
That was amazing. It was a mouthful.
That was a mouthful. My God. Well, first of all, you're in Los Angeles. Before we start anything, did Hurricane Hillary spare you?
Oh man, yeah. Did you see all the memes out where people were like, "Where is this thing?"
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you what I did yesterday, and this is not a joke. I was in the pool with my 1-year-old.
So LA was completely didn't get hit by.
I was fine. I'm happy we're fine, but it hit us and became like a tropical storm instead of a hurricane, and then it slowed down. It was supposed to be like 60-mile-per-hour winds, and then it was like 20 miles per hour, and then you couldn't really, and it was hot, so you couldn't really feel it. Thought it was quite nice, actually.
Well, in Phoenix, man, if you ever can't read or write or you're completely illiterate, you need to be a meteorologist because every day it's the same. It's clear blue skies, partly cloudy. And in Arizona, partly cloudy means that in parts of the sky, you can see parts of clouds.
Yes.
And Hillary didn't add one cloud. But
No.
so I love, there's so many things I want to talk to you about. I know you're extremely passionate about the business side of dentistry.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to start with the, I'm always thinking of my homies listening to this. So, they put comments on YouTube or they email or in Dental Town. And the number one question is they're coming out of school. They got $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 in debt.
Mm-hmm.
The DSOs seem to be the major ones hiring. So I want to start off first. And they're not happy. They're scared. A lot of them are depressed. So I always want to, I'm always talking to them first and foremost. I'm retired. Dentistry is now in the hands of all these puppies coming out of school. So what would you tell a puppy coming out of school, $500,000 in debt, and all the jobs are at DSOs, and you're in Los Angeles, there's a dentist on every corner and probably one in the basement underneath them.
Man, I'm on a floor with 3 other dentists.
So talk to that person.
Yeah, I mean, not to be afraid. I mean, it's tough. I'll tell you that. The law of diminishing returns is coming on because I feel like there is going to be a point where maybe it's going to get too expensive. But I still think dentistry is not there yet. It's still an excellent field to get into. When you're graduating, not to be afraid to take on roles, even if it is in part of a DSO or corporate type dental practice where maybe you're just getting your hands wet and getting a little bit more confidence and speed. But you also want to not forget that you have to be happy in this in your life, and dentistry is notorious for having a lot of unhappy people in this community, and it's still true that suicide is a rate that's higher among our profession and all that. And I think it comes from a lot of other reasons for why that may be it. If you're talking to a psychologist, they'll tell you there's a reason for why a dentist becomes a dentist is probably the reason why they want to convince it. But at the end of the day, what you just need to be happy. And the problem with going to these DSOs and maybe corporate practices, and there's a lot of DSOs that operate just fine. They operate great, actually. But there's a lot of corporate offices that don't operate very well. They don't compensate very well. You're not going to probably get that car you want or get the house and all that. But you got to pace yourself. So don't get out of dental school and buy that nice car and that nice house, and you're going to just increase your debt. You really need to have a timeline of events and not rush into things, and pick up a really good associateship with with somebody who shares your same values and your same practice, your practice beliefs. So I mean, I wouldn't not be too don't hammer yourself too hard. We're saying I got out of this school and I have all this debt. I don't know what to do. There are jobs out there that are amazing that are going to pay you very well. You just have to know what you're looking for and manage your time well, and not overwork yourself. You will pay off that debt. A lot of the times, even banks don't really look at your school debt, when they're giving you maybe a practice loan or an acquisition loan. And I could say that's very true. They don't look at that. So the best person to lend to is a dentist, right? Like we all there, everybody needs one. We're always going to have work. Even during COVID, we were working. This is a great profession to kind of manage your family and your lifestyle, and work about life balance can very much take place in the dental sector, and having that kind of the great life where you're buying all the stuff that you need. Eventually you'll get there, but it's all about pacing yourself. But get out of school and find something good, and keep mindful of that.
Well, we're Dentistry Uncensored. Can you drop any names on good DSOs, bad DSOs?
I mean, I would say my dental office is hiring, my dental offices. So I'm a multi-practice owner. So if you are in Los Angeles, shoot me an email. You could shoot me an email. I'd love to, hire.
What's your email?
Yeah, it's Rhonda, Rhonda, last name Kalasho at glomoderndental.com. And currently right now we have a Beverly Hills office, we have a Hollywood office, we have a Calabasas office, and we're fee for service. So a lot of doctors may want to come out and work in that kind of design model of a dental office. And nothing's wrong with taking insurances. We still bill PPO insurances as concierge to our patients, but it's great because you don't feel like you're being rushed or forced to produce a certain amount. You can just it's fee for service. If you're cutting a crown for one day, that may be an entire production that you'd get in a whole day of not of insurance-based type practices. So I'd say shoot me an email if you have any questions as well as to what to look for, like an associate, what they're expecting to get paid, and also how to structure your payment is really important too. You can't just get out and get your paycheck and put it in your personal bank account. Start forming a corporation, incorporate yourself. If you're living in California, you can be a 1099 and be a dentist rather than a W-2. And then you just have to, you have to formulate yourself as a small business, as a little mini entrepreneur when you are an associate.
Yeah, so many things you said I wanted to comment on, but like when you get an associate, people are always asking me, should I find one that's good in this, or I want to learn how to place implants. Should I go with an implantologist, or I want to learn ortho? Should I go to orthodontist? And I always say, that my big beef on the DSOs is, number one, there's a thread on Dental Town about the ADA is openly endorsing DSOs, and all the old dentists thinks that's just horrible and all that stuff. Come on, guys, it's a market. I mean, look at a house. You might not want to live in a van down by the river, but that is a market segment. So are mobile homes and fifth wheelers and apartments and condos and single. I mean, so they got to talk to the whole market. They just can't segment out a piece of market. And everything is your attitude. I always know successful people like you just have a rocking hot attitude. And my God, you can go to DSO. If you went to work at Heartland and you know that Rick Workman's got 1,000 offices, really? Every dentist I know can't even run his own office. And this guy's running 1,000, and you just got a bad attitude. Plus, they always complain about the requirements, especially during COVID. I mean, a lot of these DSOs or Medicaid clinics or welfare clinics, you could do all your dental school requirements every week. So, just get a good attitude. But my dad used to always say to me, now I always sing it to my kids, and now I'm singing to my grandkids, that the easiest dollar earned is $1 in expenses saved. The second easiest dollar earned is $1 of taxes delayed. And you were talking about the 1099 to the W-2. Yeah. And the hardest damn dollar you'll ever earn is doing a damn root canal on some kid. Absolutely. And I see these guys come out of dental school $500,000-$600,000 in debt,
Mhm.
and they say they act like they're a victim, but they're driving a brand new
Yeah, it's
fancy
true.
car
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
all their spring breaks. They went on cruises. They got a stay home wife that already has a 1 year old kid like you walking another one in the oven. And then I say,
Yeah,
well, at least come out of these schools. I know your mom and dad. Go move in with them. They'd love it. I
yeah.
had one mom, like I started saying, I'm telling your son to go back home and live with you. She started to cry. And what did he do? He goes out to Gilbert and buys another $600,000 home. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
so
mean,
they
you're
just can't. I mean, why would you invest in consumption, a home, a car, or a
yeah,
cruise?
exactly. I
I
mean,
do
it
like I
depends.
do
Like,
like the kid part of it because I
yeah,
always tell people there is no smart, good time to open up your own business or have a kid. So while
no,
you're
yeah,
young
exactly.
and
Just do it.
dumb and can
Yes.
live off 2 hours of sleep and a cup of
Yeah.
coffee, if you want,
Yeah.
I had 4 kids in 60 months because I knew as soon as we
I'm
figured
keeping up
out,
with you. I have a 4-month-old and a year and a half year old right now.
and I mean, it's just awesome because I mean, the kids are, I mean, I went 10 years without sleeping through the night. I mean, it was just,
Best. And
in
you can
fact,
place an implant so good.
what I ended up doing in my bedroom, it was actually a bedroom. I two
Yeah.
queen size beds because if someone
Yeah.
threw up and vomited and crapped one side, I just move them to the other bed. It was like an extra operator. I was running two ops at night, and it's like, okay, that bed's trash. We'll deal with that tomorrow. But
Exactly.
the same thing, getting owner operator. I mean, I have so many kids now that are 20, 30 years into practice saying, the man, I was so scared, and you kept saying, just do it, just dive in the swim pool.
Absolutely.
And
You
why
like
are
when
you
people
not
are
going to
wondering.
drown? And why are you
Yeah,
not going to drown? We'll talk to any of the makers.
exactly.
I mean, if they loan to 100 dentists, only like a 0.5%
Yes.
default. And it's
Hmm.
always because they had their license taken away. And it's
Exactly.
always, you made the newspapers, you killed your
Yes.
wife, you're
Yeah.
on drugs or whatever. And if you're on drugs, you just go get treatment. I mean, they'll let you
Yeah.
pee in a cup for 5 years if you admit it. If you,
Yeah.
um,
Exactly.
so, so
Yeah.
just dive in, owner operator. But I want to go back to the employee turnover. If I came out of school and I was going back to Fort Scott, Kansas, and there are only 2 people offering me a job, I only have one question. How
Hmm.
many staff do you have and how long have they been here? And let's
Hmm.
say your office, no one's lived there over 3 years. And then I
Hmm.
go across the street and this guy's got people that have been there 20 to 30 years. I mean, I kept my assistant Jan for 30 years. Half of
Hmm.
my management team has been there,
Hmm.
20 to 30 years. The new girl has been there
Hmm.
9 years. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the conductor. Because if you could learn to be a conductor and,
Yes.
your back is to the audience
Mm.
and you're not going to learn how to place implants and ortho and 52
Yeah.
medical specialties and 12 dental specialties. But if you decide to go in that market, I'd rather hire in the greatest implantologist than go put
Mhm.
myself through implant school. I mean, I got my fellowship in the missions to my diplomat in the International Congress of Oral Implantology, MAGD, and all that. But I'd still rather have a periodontist in there placing implants and an orthodontist doing the ortho and an endodontist doing that. I mean, just be a conductor. So I would get an associate with, like you said, the person that shares the same values, the same
Yeah.
mental
And the
goals.
culture of the practice is super important too. It makes you happy. You can feel it in the air. When you walk into one of our offices, and a lot of my colleagues that have found equal success with multiple practices, they all have what they've done is they've been conductors in their own lives and they've delegated to the right people because that's big too. You can delegate all day long, but if you're delegating to the wrong person, it's not going to work the way that you want it to. But you delegate to the right people and you create a culture within your practice that has a camaraderie in there, also that they feel like they're proud of where they work. Those doctors and those auxiliary workers, all of them, the hygienists, everybody in there is going to have a different tone of voice when they're speaking to patients, different persona when they're walking in the office, and you can feel it. The air is lighter. A lot of times patients will come into our office and say, it feels so different in here. You guys are so happy. And it's because we truly take care of everybody from the front office to the back. I've been in private, I've owned now, this is going to be my fourth dental office that I've owned. I owned directly out of GPR. I kind of did what right when I got out, I knew I wanted to be a business owner, and I went out and purchased my practice. And my first one didn't go exactly as planned, but it wasn't as complete. It wasn't a complete failure, but I like to think of it as I was just failing forward, and just trying to get and get around. But I worked out with a partner, and that didn't really work out. But now I did opened up my Hollywood practice 2018, then Beverly Hills, now Calabasas. Now we're looking into acquisition in Malibu. These are all highly coveted areas in Los Angeles, but we're we're working through it because we're doing it, but we're doing it as a team. The entire team wants to grow and be highly involved in the growth of TrueGlow Modern, and even the doctors too.
I wrote this yesterday. Your first filling will be bad. Your first crown will be bad. Your first root canal will be bad. Your first implant will be bad. Your first anything will be bad. But you can't make your 100th without making your first. So set your fear and ego aside and bust out a move and bust a move. Bust out a move. I gotta finish that.
Yeah, just do it. Basically, just do it. Don't be afraid of it. But you have to have a plan. You can't just go in there kind of blinded. There's a lot at stake, and mostly it's your happiness. And that's so if you're just kind of getting into something and you feel like you're really not ready, don't let the fear stand in your way. But if it's something else, like you really are dug deep in finances, you don't know if you can afford this or not, well, then really think critically of it. And the biggest thing I want to tell graduates is to tax plan. Tax planning is super important, so underappreciated. People think you can't negotiate your taxes. You can negotiate your taxes. Your taxes are something that you have a tax. The tax code is meant for people to take advantage of when they are investing. It's an incentive for the average person to put money into the market, and the government will say, good for you. Thank you for to bring business into the economy. And then lo and behold, you get a tax break. Tax breaks can be anywhere from your cars, getting the right car or whatever it is, and what types of investments that you do, from owning a home to owning a business. The type of corporation you formulate is also super important too. These are all things that, unfortunately, they don't teach us in dental school. But when you get out of school, the first thing you want to buy I don't know why everybody goes and takes a clinical course in how to cut an MOD. It's the same. I promise you. The same that you did on a typodont is the same you're going to do on a person, right? But they never taught you how to do your taxes, or they never taught you about investments or a portfolio or building any. So get a book on that. Learn about the tax code for small businesses. Just grab that book off the shelf, or take any courses that you may have in maybe business development and maybe not even linked to dentistry. A lot of the courses I take are not even dental related. They're all business, tax planning, real estate investing, and whatever it is. I know that I'm a good dentist and I can do the clinical work, but you can get really screwed over if you don't understand how a P&L reads, or all those little lines on your tax mean. What is 5A plus minus 5? Go through it line by line and read your taxes.
And I always say the best way to learn how to read accounting statements, you got to motivate. I mean, I raised 4 boys, and I'm raising 8 grandchildren. And,
Wow,
like when one of my boys wanted a Honda, I first said, okay, well, what is a Honda? Is it a planet? Is it a country? Who is this Mr. Honda? And then we go and we get the book, the autobiography of Mr. Honda. We learn all about Mr. Honda. Yeah. And my favorite was Yamaha, because Yamaha, he broke all the golden rules. Everybody only does one thing, but he did 2 things. He liked pianos and organs, and he liked engines. Yeah. And he's number 1 in Japan in motorcycles and keyboards. I mean, that's so rare. That never happens. But if these dentists would buy a stock like an Invisalign, then they'd understand, right now it's trading at 91 times earnings, when the market always trades between a multiple of like 10 times earnings at 20 times earnings, and it's at 20. But, I wouldn't buy it at 91, but if the market capitulated and went down to 9, you'd want to load up on all that stuff. But the thing is, they're interested in Invisalign, or Henry Schein, or any of these publicly traded companies, X-Ray for Dentsply Sirona. But if you buy a stock, they have to send you the quarterly 10Q quarterly report, then 10K annual, and then you get to read a balance sheet, a statement of cash flow. You get to read all these stuff, and you just have to do that.
And I would say buy what you know. Buying what you know is super important. Like if you actually use buy what you use. I love, I'm a big, I love Invisalign. I actually use a lot of their, I use all their iTero. I do all of my milling and my scanning and everything is done with iTero, from implant designs to reconstructions of the mouth is all done with iTero. I love it. And I invested in that. Henry Schein is the same. So all these, it's really investing in what you know, and that does go into what else do you know? You know, dentistry. Well, invest in a dental office. There's a lot of them coming out. Like there's a lot of dental offices that are acquisitions that you can take on from an older dentist that you can really revamp and bring in some of the new stuff, and you still have goodwill packed into that office. This is going to be the last office I buy that's startup, because it's really a different beast. Startups are really hard, but I like acquisitions a lot, even the ones that you think are you're being told is not a good acquisition. If it has a good hygiene department, it's a great acquisition. If you have at least some people coming in, it's a great, just really look into the due diligence of that practice and buy it. If it makes sense, buy it. Even if you're buying it cheap. My first practice, it was bought dirt cheap. Now it's about 10 times its multiple. So it's whatever, make it what you want. There's so many ways that you can make dentistry personable.
So I just double checked. I was wrong about Align Technology trading at a multiple of 91. It's only at 85.86.
Only.
So only. but you know what? I remember the 2000 meltdown in Amazon dropped 95% for like 2 months.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. It just, hold it. Just, it doesn't matter. You're not going to lose if you don't sell it. And that's what, Warren Buffett's famous for that. But I mean, just hold on to it, sit on it. Even if you like crypto, I know some people like crypto too. If that's where you want to go, fine, invest in them. But know what you're investing in. Like, just like you said, you went out and bought a book about Honda, and you understand what it is that you're investing in. And if you really truly believe in it, then put your money in it. But you gotta, you can work, as an associate. I get a lot of the times people come in and they say, I want to be a business owner. Okay, but what's the appeal? Because a business owner it's really hard to be a business owner, because you're operating with so many different hats, and you have to have a certain personality for it. You have to have a vision for it, and you have to be willing to take in a lot of risks. As an associate, if you're working in a really great dental practice that has an opportunity for maybe a profit sharing option, or maybe a buy-in, either sweat equity or monetary equity, whatever it may be. But there may be some options for you to kind of buy into a practice without being a full owner. Associates have so much at their leverage that they can utilize to build their wealth. For one, associates can make really good money if they're in the right dental office, and that's compensating well. So, yeah.
So I'm going to go back to DSOs. None of them are publicly traded. That's always been a huge red flag for me. I mean, look at all the insane companies that are public. Look at the fact that of the Russell 3000 index, I mean, it's the Russell 2000, but there's about 3,000 publicly traded companies, and probably 40% of them have never made a dollar yet. They're public, but it's always been a red flag to me that none of these DSOs are public. And so I always look at employee turnover, because we sell the invisible. I mean, when I'm in Phoenix, that the only dog I've ever had on DSOs, I mean, I think they great at finding locations and finding finance and marketing, and they do so many things to get an A. But the main thing is when you sell the invisible, like when you check into a hotel, I mean, why did they put a slip of paper around the toilet paper? Because you didn't see them clean it. Why is there a paper cup on the glass? Because you didn't see that it was clean. When you order room service, why is there still an inch of straw? It's all selling the invisible. And in dentistry, they're just looking at the team. And I went in there, and they said I had 5 cavities. So I scheduled to go back into the doctor, and now he's not even there. And now they have a new person, and they said I had 4. So they did 2 on the right side, and I went back there, and now they're not even there. I mean, and everything I see is Heartland. And I have no dog in any of these. I held none of them are even publicly traded. How could I have a dog in it? They're keeping their employees the longest, and I hear that's only averages like 2 years, and the rest of DSOs are like 1 year. I mean, imagine if you were a Walgreens and you couldn't keep any of your pharmacists.
That's true.
I mean, it's so bizarre.
But that's, I think, also maybe like a problem that a lot of people are facing, because it's such a volatile market. So many people, for when we're hiring, for instance, a lot of even my colleagues are having the same problem. It's getting people to show up for an interview if you show up and you're breathing and you have a pulse and you're kind of normal at this point, I'm about to hire you because I had last month 20 interviews. And by the way, not to toot our horn about how we pay our staff, but they're usually paid, and let's just say they're hourly workers. They're about $4 to $5 on top of the average salary. They have a 401k, they have a gym membership, they have a gas stipend, about $300 a month they spend on gas. We have full health benefits, 100%. They don't even buy into it. It's just 100%. They get all this shit, and they can't. And we would list this on Indeed. We put it on there, and all these people call in super excited to come in for their interview, and we book them. And they don't show up. Last month we had 20, and only 3 showed up. Only 3.
You know, I mean, gosh darn you.
I heard because one of them got really close to well, they didn't get close. They just got a little friendly with one of the people that works at our office, and they told him, "Oh, I do something called serial working interviews." So they like go around and they just do random working interviews so they can continue to get unemployment. And then they just get the daily rate, right? And so they just keep doing that over and over again, and that's a good way of them to make double the income. And I'm not giving anybody ideas out there, but that's the environment that
I wonder why the United States is 31 trillion in debt and has only grown the economy on average about 1.5% to 3% since I got out of college in 1980. I mean,
I wonder.
it's just it's so mismanaged. It's just insane how mismanaged it is. But we got 2 dental schools in town. We got AT Still and Mesa and Midwestern in Glendale.
Yeah, and they're great. They're great schools.
Yeah, and for 20 years, me and my team just scratch our head. They come out of school whining about their $500,000 in debt, but they won't work evenings. They won't work Saturday. They have this whole list of what they will and won't do. And we're just like, the biggest red flag in an interview, I mean, if you want to hire someone, they join and they want to meet all the members and they want to meet all the people, and they're going around. They want to meet the assistants and the hygienists, and they want to spend a half day in your office, and they know I'm going to live here with these people. I mean, it's like a college roommate. You wouldn't want to just have one randomly assigned to you. You'd kind of like to know this guy. Is he going to party and smoke pot every day, or is he really going to try to get in dental school? I mean, it's everything. And when they come in and all they talk about is money, 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 for 35 years, that person always never pans out. If money's the answer, what's the question? Don't let the door hit you on the way out. But people that have the right attitude, that sit there and think, wow, this is a great team. I could learn a lot here, and everybody's happy, and they've all been here a long time. And then when you get older, and you're having lunch or something with somebody that worked with you 10, 20, 30 years, and they tell you that during the worst time of their life, their mom died or they got a divorce, whatever, the only thing they had to look forward to is coming to work, and they love to see everybody. And then most dental offices, they could have Godzilla working as a hygienist, and everybody hates her in the office, but then they'll keep her there for like 20, 30 years. So
no, you have to be able to say bye to people. And also when you're hiring into I think it's super important. Actually, one of my friends, he actually has a dental podcast as well, but Greg Spodak, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's but he does like, which I completely agree with, is doing personality tests for everybody who come onto your team, because you want to kind of know who you're letting into your house, so kind of get an idea of who they are and get a good breakdown of their personality. So if you're asking them to do detailed work, for instance, and they're not detailed people, well, you're probably searching for the wrong person, and it kind of helps you delegate tasks more appropriately. And delegation is super important. What was that Benjamin Franklin quote? Is who you're going to ask to if you want something done, ask somebody busy, right? That's 100% how I live my life. I delegate, but I delegate appropriately depending on the person's personality and what the traits they have are. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work, whatever you wanted to have done.
Craig Spodak was Dentistry Uncensored show 1060. And I loved it. So you're in good company. We always try to get the best and all that stuff. But here's another beef I have. My dad, he's Catholic. He got married. He had 7 kids in a weekend. I mean, he was delivering rainbow bread for 11,000 a year. We were so damn poor. We
Mhm.
didn't even know they were poor. I didn't even know till I was 11 that people had air conditioners in their house, just like they do at the grocery store. I mean, I didn't know that shit existed.
Yeah.
But my dad was still able to save up to buy a Sonic Drive franchise. It took him 10 years, but having 6 kids and a
Yep.
stay-at-home mom
Yep.
and tithing 10% to the Catholic Church, he was still able
Yeah.
to save up. And he bought that Sonic Drive-In franchise. And I'll tell you what, low volume Medicaid clinic
Mhm.
McDonald's, you
Yep.
can make just as much money as a high-end Ruth's
Yep.
Chris steakhouse. And there's money at every end and every segment. You can become a billionaire selling trailer homes or
Mhm.
apartments or
Uh-huh.
single family or mansions in Beverly Hills. I mean, there's money to be made everywhere. So, how would you coach um, exploring different business models and growth strategies in this current and we're going to talk about America only because that's the market you're in and I know the most, but you got DSOs, they're in all the urban and
Mhm.
they're kicking butt on locations and marketing and
Mhm.
advertising,
Mhm.
but they're not anywhere in the rural because they can't keep a dock in the box in the rural.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's another thing. You meet all these young dentists and their mom and dad, basically gave it all and moved here 15,000 miles from Pakistan or Armenia or India. And
Yeah.
then you ask that girl, well, can you take a job 40 miles out of town in Eloy? No, I'm not driving to Eloy. It's like, well, your mom made it 15,000 miles. Why can't
Yeah.
you haul it down to Eloy on the
Yeah.
way to? And with these driverless cars, I mean, I'm in Google. I mean, I'm in Phoenix. But do you realize when I call an Uber, I call Waymo, and there's
Yeah.
no driver.
It's crazy.
I know. So you could have your own Waymo. If you practice an hour out in the rural, you could just get a U-Haul and sit back there in a lawn chair and have your computer or take a nap on your way to work. I mean, you're not even going to be driving the car in 5 years. So
It's
why
insane. You're
why
not, you know
can't
what? I'll tell you what, you're not even going to be diagnosing as a dentist. What we've even been able to incorporate in terms of AI in our practices is insane. So we're not. My associates are literally have to click a button and it tells you where the cavities are. You can kind of tell what you're going to do with that cavity in terms of restoration, but that's the world that we're living in. But look, this is also mentioning that is this the truth is, yeah, DSOs are going to operate and they're going to be in urban areas. They're going to pick out the best real estate and everything and all that. But they have to make their the people investing in that DSO, they need to be paid and they need to be happy. So it becomes kind of just like a workhorse, and the patients in there may feel that way. And I do get a lot of patients that come from DSOs. Yeah, there was like this idea that like you would be fixing bad dentistry from a DSO. It's not always true. You can sometimes get some people to do good dentistry out of DSOs, but the thing is, like you said, they don't have a connection. The patient doesn't have a connection to that office. And in the world that we're living in right now, I think they want to feel catered to, and they don't want to feel like they're just being run around like cattle. So the practice is built now as if they're DSOs, they still can operate really well and everything, but they're usually not giving hot towels and chapstick and doing all the nice things that we may do for our patients. It'll so every practice will run different, but you have to find a niche market. What is the practice missing? What do you think dentistry is missing? And you bring it into your practice. Everybody will do dentistry pretty much the same. We're all been taught the same. We all took the same rebs. We all took the same board certification and all that. But when we come out, we have a different perspective on how we should be handling maybe a patient, or how we should handle this patient care, or this phone call, do a post-op check, and all this kind of stuff. These are all things that may set you aside different than the DSO practice, which, like to your point, you can still be very successful. I can sit right, like I said, I have 3 dentists on one floor in my dental office. Two of my dental offices have one neighboring to it. I can just throw a rock out and I'll hit a dentist on the head. Now, if you look at our practice compared to theirs, are they not successful? No, they're successful, but are we doing better? I'd say, and we have better reviews and all that kind of stuff because we have a different approach to the way that we're handling the patient care. And That's what you want to deliver to your practices that'll set you aside from a DSO. You'll manage your patients will come in and they'll feel like, oh, I recognize that face. That person checked me in last time 6 months ago. It's not a new face. The assistant that's helping me is the same assistant a couple months ago. Because when you have a smaller type of practice, well, not smaller, but when you have a practice that's not like 20 offices deep and a ton of employees you can't get a handle on, you start to lose track of some of this stuff that can be really important to a patient.
Okay, let's go back to senior dental, the senior dental students or junior dental students that are watching this stuff. Okay, so they know that you make about $100,000 a year more being a specialist than a general practitioner. I mean, dental specialists average 320, general practitioners are 197. So it's $100,000. It's worth $100,000 to be a specialist, and there's 12 of them: oral surgery, endo, perio, ped, ortho, pros, dental anesthesia, oral facial pain, oral med, oral path, oral radiology, dental public health. You also know you pick up another $100,000 if you own your own practice versus an associate. Owner general dentists are making $244, and the general dentist associates are making a $147. But look at these oral surgeons; they're at like $450, periodontists at $350, endodontists at $310, pediatric at $310, ortho $300, prosthodontic. I mean, would you advise them to dig in for another $100,000 and become a specialist? Or like I did, I just graduated. My dad wouldn't give me a dime because I was a boy. He would my sisters, but as a boy, I couldn't be a daddy did it. And so I got into a dental office, no money down. I did my demographics, just like they taught dad how to do demographics to find Sonic drive-ins, and he found 5 in Wichita, one in Kearney, Nebraska, Childress, Texas, Abilene, Kansas, and Louisville, Kentucky. So I was in Wichita, so I actually found the best demographics in Phoenix. So I moved 1,000 miles, and now these dentists won't drive 30 minutes to go to Eloy where they don't even have a dentist, and then they'll bitch about, not having, it's too crowded. And so I just went in there. They offered me 1,000 square foot for $15 a square foot for a 3-year lease. I said, okay, I'll pay you 20 for 5. He said, okay, what am I doing with the extra money? I said, you're doing the whole damn build out. He said, deal done. And then I went over to, at the time it was Healthco. I think that got rolled up into Patterson later or Shine. Somebody bought it, but I went in there and picked out all the state-of-the-art equipment. It was the same money as my student loans, $87,000. And they said, okay, will you write us a check for $87,000? I said, dude, I don't have a dime. And they got all sad. I said, you're going to give me a 5-year lease to own, and on the 60th payment, I own it. So I got all free equipment, all free build out. Went in there, opened up.
I mean, you can still leverage. You can still do exactly what you did now. Like, you don't actually need to have money to just. And in fact, if you do have money, you shouldn't be spending it on buying equipment. You should just lease everything, and then eventually you'll buy it. You shouldn't be just spending. Yeah, I mean, this is, again, that goes back to understanding money a little bit. Just because you have a lot of it doesn't mean you go and spend it. And that's actually this, and it also doesn't mean you sit on it. It's just where you're going to put it, right? And so
we both agree that owner-operator is where the money is. You're not going to get any of your dental dreams come true working for someone else, because in macro, I mean, you can't fight macro. Just like in this.
Well, I wouldn't agree with that. I mean, there's associate dentists, like the ones that work for me. They will be wealthy through other means, right? Like, so they're making good money as associates. Very good, actually. They're surpassing the amounts that's like currently what was listed there, but that's because they have their hands in other investments, so they're letting their money work for them. They've also formulated their taxes so that it also is not running them essentially poor at the end of the day. They're leveraging themselves. So owner occupied is the only reason why it's probably showing up better anyhow, is because you're going to have to pay yourself out, and that's what's being reported anyways. But that may not always be true. That the OMFS person is making more than the associate dentist, and not to just look. You could make money in any field that you're in. It just depends on where you're going to be putting it. It's where you're investing this money. If you're only going to be an associate and just say I'm only an associate, then you're never going to really expand. Associates can still do very well through other means of investments.
I want to ask you a specific question. I got a guy who's asking me, I mean, his whole heart was getting into ortho school. Yeah. And he didn't get into ortho specialty school, even though he was like in the top 10% and all that stuff. So now he can't get into ortho school, but all he wants to do is ortho. Do you think a general dentist can just do ortho? I mean, what would you tell them? Would you tell them to just keep applying year after year, or would you tell them just be a general dentist and do ortho?
No,
What would
I
you?
think there's going to be a point where you could do I think that I'll be honest, because this is dentistry uncensored. It's uncensored. I'll tell you what, people, a lot of people do Invisalign, and and they've actually grown to be exceptionally great they've been really good at even fixing crazy bites like class 3s and class 2s. Invisalign is really, really good now, super good. The sub types of dentistry that we've been able to do with fixing of the malocclusion with just using Invisalign and no orthodontic brackets have been insane. Now, that being said, take some additional courses in clear aligners. There's a bunch of other companies that are competing with Invisalign, but you can do that and actually maybe gear your practice toward and your marketing and your SEO and all that to be the clear aligners guru and expert. And you probably can do just as well as an orthodontist if you just maybe don't do metal braces. And then in between, you can kind of combine that with maybe doing rehabilitation cases where you're doing ortho plus full mouth crowns and stuff like that, increasing VDO, maybe going to a little bit of occlusion, because if you like orthodontics, you probably like occlusion. And then lo and behold, after all that, you just started yourself a practice that is a full mouth rehabilitation practice, where maybe you're doing ortho first and then rehabilitating them later. So you can try to get into ortho all you want. Look, you're going to be spending a lot of money, and at the end of it, mostly you probably get into a school that's going to charge you to be an orthodontist, not give you money to be the orthodontist. Because that is also fascinating to me, that a lot of these specialty schools that have you pay them. So I think I would really consider that there's a ton of other courses that you can take to expand your literacy in orthodontics and just do that, work within ortho.
Well, I want to ask you a specific question. Invisalign. I mean, they made the market. They got a big head start. But now they have a lot. All their patents expired, so they got a lot of knockoffs. There's Ormco, Dentsply, Sirona, 3M, Intuit, Straumann, Argent, Angeline, Invista, TP, Henry Schein, Bosch. I mean, there's so many clear aligners. Do you think Invisalign is a unique brand of technology where you think it's worth the market differentiation price that you would have to a high-end, Lexus or Mercedes? Or do you think these low-cost knockoffs are just as good?
I mean, I tried the low-cost knockoffs. I'll tell you, they don't have the kind of clinical support that you would need. Their plastic is, I think, finicky compared to Invisalign. This customer support, and this goes to even when we're talking about DSOs, again, to a private practice, a multi-practice owner that's able to create that culture within their practice, right? But this is the same thing with Invisalign. Invisalign handles their clientele different. They have the representatives at your every beck and call. Whenever I need anything from an Invisalign expert, they're there. If they have these dentists, these orthodontists that get on a call with you and share your screen, move around buttons, help you with the IPRs, help you achieve the results you want. And honestly, our patients barely go into refinements, having utilized their assist, as opposed to the other brands. Your patients may have to go back and do several refinements that's just taking up chair time and also reducing customer satisfaction. So I think Invisalign has done it the best with their clinical modeling, their use also of using the iTero system to help. What they do is now digitalize the patient's face, and you can overlay the final result on their face immediately in chair. So you do a patient care simulation, and you take a scan of them, take some photos, and then you can run a simulation, and on their face, the final results of the teeth show up. That is a slam dunk in terms of patient acceptance, so these are some things that Invisalign offers that I don't see it offered with the other knockoffs. And now we have in Beverly Hills, I don't know if it's in Arizona, it probably is, but they have Smile Direct or whatever the hell club. That one is, there's no dentist in sight. They're putting clear aligners on someone that has clear perio disease and Invisalign, what's it called? Massive amounts of cavities. And then those people, I have to now not only fix their teeth and their cavities, do root canals, extract teeth, do all that stuff. I have to now put them in real orthodontics or via Invisalign, and now they're happy. So dentistry done right is always worth the price. Of course, Invisalign, I hope they come down in price a little bit, because because I do so much, get a discount. And I'm going to quote that in quote unquote, their discounts are still laughable. Greg Spodek and I were talking about how like he's like, you can never keep up with these DSOs, because DSOs have so many practices. They get they get like a package of Invisalign for like $700, where we're paying like $1,800, and that's our discount price on an Invisalign. So yeah, our Invisalign is going to be $6,000 or $7,000, because that's all we can do. I mean, you still have to cover your costs on it. But at the end of the day, I've tried them all. Invisalign's the best.
Well, that surprised me about Smiles Direct Club, because their stock's only down to 53 cents a share. It's been in a that's a joke.
Yeah.
Last question.
I actually think everybody pulled out, right? Of it. There's too many problems.
Yeah, no? I knew something was wrong with that guy when he started out, and his best idea was to start suing orthodontists who badmouth.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I like, it makes you nervous to even say anything about them, right? Like, so, but at the same time, I can tell you, I've had to write a couple letters for patients where they're just, they gave open bites because they're not doing IPR, right? There's nobody there that's creating the space that you need. They don't have buttons on the teeth, so I don't know exactly. It's only moving teeth like this, and like forward and back, but it's not. Anyway, like these
so
people.
I'll just say one final thing on Invisalign. Every time I'm with some orthodontist and he's just bitching about Invisalign, I say, well, yeah, why don't you switch to another company? And you go, oh, I can't, man. It's just so good. It's like, okay, so
yeah,
okay,
exactly.
So it's like they're talking about their spouse or something. You can bitch, but you're not going anywhere. Last question. I can't believe we've already passed 45 minutes, coming up an hour. They come out with a lot of student loans. A lot of these toys, CAD CAM, Invisalign, AI, all this stuff like that. What toys can you get a return on investment? Should they get a CAD CAM? Should they get AI to read their x-rays? I mean, what toys did you buy that are expensive that you think I'm glad you did it versus that was not a return on investment? I really regret that.
Yeah, I mean, right now, TrueGlow Modern Dental is my practice. So we have all modern technology, which is 3D. We have a 3D endoscope. So when we do endo on a person, we have 3D goggles on them. So the tube looks like it's actually popping out at you, which is insane, but it actually makes you not miss a single canal. It's insane. But then we also have our cone beam CTs. We have iTeros. We have 3D printers. We have a robot called Temi, which walks around and gives post-ops, gives also equipment to different operatories. So yeah, in terms of technology, I'm the sucker and the reps love me. I say yes to everything. Now, I have that luxury now. Did I have that luxury when I first got out of dental school? No. And I wouldn't recommend you buy a robot to follow you around. That's not going to happen. I think the best thing is stop using alginate impressions. That is, have you, and if you think that you're using an alginate impression, I get better whatever contacts with my alginate impression. I don't mean to burst your bubble, but these scanners are incredible in picking up detail, and they're the way to go. Nobody wants that goop in their mouth taking an impression of their esophagus. You gotta really stay with the times, and the times are moving pretty fast. I'm telling you, you're not even needing to diagnose anymore. You got robotic equipment that's doing it. You don't even need to do post-op calls. The post-op calls are done by little robots, right? And so these are all things that we're keeping up to date with my offices. However, if you're starting out and you're buying a practice and you're pacing yourself in terms of how much you're going to spend, one, leverage your money. Don't be spending everything with your cash that you have in the bank, which is probably not much. Go through like TIAA or whatever these other companies that you can actually you can finance your equipment with. Patterson, if you're going through them, or Henry Schein have their own financing company. And even if you have a really shit credit score, they'll still give it to you. So you want to do that and then buy things that are going to make the patient experience better. Don't worry about how, whatever, anything else. Patient experience is where you should be spending your money. So I would say a 5D scanner is where the first investment should go. Yeah, for sure. That's where you
Well,
would do
what
it.
scanner would you get?
I like the iTero. I'm a sucker for that. I wish that they can give me a free one for giving them so much freaking business right now. But the I like iTero, and
And that's
it's
Dentsply Sirona, right?
that's a Invisalign.
Oh,
iTero Invisalign.
Invisalign, Invisalign.
Invisalign, yes. But they're now linked to like CareStream links to them to the iTero as well. You can actually do like full mouth simulations with you take a cone beam CT and you take that person's face and you put it onto your scanner, and then you can do you can overlay the imaging of their face and the teeth and all that kind of stuff. These are all stuff for great patient acceptance, because when you're explaining something that a patient doesn't see, like a cavity or what you're going to do, these are very hard to explain when I mean, you just get an intraoral camera and you're like a wizard all of a sudden. People that used to say, no, I have a cavity, it doesn't hurt. Now 100% believe you want to do the treatment same day. By an intraoral camera, by a scanner. These are things that are going to show patients that they grind. Like an iTero scanner has a topography map on there that shows you where you're hitting hardest on your teeth, and you're showing, okay, you can hit that thing, and where it shows that it's red, you zoom in on that tooth and you show them the crack. Okay, how'd you get that crack? Maybe your bite's a little too deep. Well, Invisalign is not only for crowded teeth. You can actually balance a patient's bite with that. So now that you're talking on that, you can do a simulation for them and show them that you can adjust bilateral.
It's a lot easier way to find out if they grind their teeth and have TMJ.
You
Just
ask their significant other.
you just ask on the chart, do you have children? And if they say yes, okay. Last thing, you said if they wanted to contact you is Rhonda Kalasho at glowmoderndental.com. But do you have any other things?
You can find me on Instagram too.
But what about other things they could join, or do you sell anything, or books, tapes, or anything you'd like
No,
to plug?
I'm kind of an open book. I just, I've gotten a little bit, a lot of people are, because I'm quote unquote young, and I've had a lot of good dental success, and the business aspect of things I've always liked. So I get asked to speak on maybe, tax formulation of how, when you're, for instance, for new grads coming out of dental school, what should I form, a corporation, LLC, C Corp, blah blah blah. These are some things I'll talk to them about, but also to help talk about the culture of a practice, how we grow a dental office. All the nuances of business in dentistry is my main niche. So you can always ask me if you have any questions about that. If you're a practicing dentist or an associate, I'm happy to help. And I had the same kind of upbringing, a little bit of my father had multiple pizza places, and we're a Catholic family from actually from Baghdad. So I'm Iraqi. I was born in Baghdad, but we're Catholics from Baghdad. So when he came here, we had 6 kids, just like you. And so I think that's what made me work the way that I did, because I would have to work when I was 4. Like it was a funny Sebastian Maniscalco skit where he was like, if you have an Italian dad and you can't be sitting down on a Saturday night with a bowl of cereal in your hand, or a Saturday morning with a bowl of cereal. He kicks it right out, makes you start a business. That's the same thing with my parents. My parents made us work really early on, so I didn't know another world. This is all I know. I knew that there's a struggle of finding this, but it also helped to see that from nothing you can really make yourself into something, and the possibility is there. And that's the blessing of being in America. You can't really have that anywhere else.
Yeah, you can bitch about America all day long, but I've lectured in 50 other countries, and with the exception of just a couple of countries like Australia or something, you never want to come back home. I mean, you never want to stay.
You never want to leave. And that's
Yeah.
just the luxury of only being in America. If you've ever lived anywhere else, you'd realize you'd bite your tongue really quickly if you felt like America wasn't great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have anything to sell, or any memberships, or anything they can join, or anything, or
No, not at
just to
all.
have you
Just
speak.
kind of, I get asked a lot from associates or for about associateships. They can certainly email me if they'd like to get into that. Yeah, that's
And
it. I mean,
one last question I have. I know I keep saying one last question, but dentistry, I mean, a lot of these big DSOs or big chains or whatever, like Rick Herscher's Comfort Dental. I mean,
yes,
comfort. I mean, they're afraid of the dentist. And
yes.
I notice as a little that people just think women are more gentle than men. I mean, I had 4 boys, and they always come to me unless they were crying or bleeding or whatever. Then they run around me and go straight to mom. You have all women, and I always said to myself, if I what a perfect niche market that if I was a woman dentist, I would only have associates that are women dentists, and I'd make that part of my brand.
Yeah, that's what GLO stands for, Great Ladies of Modern Dentistry. It's all
No
women.
kidding.
Yeah, so True Glow, it's an all, but we have a
True Glow stands for
Great Ladies of Modern Dentistry.
Great Ladies of Modern.
However, I did have a male associate, so we're all cool with that too.
Yeah, but I do. I mean, I would.
But no, right now we're all female, all female associates, which is funny because we have all pretty much all male assistants.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was great. My male assistant, I mean, he was the greatest, and they usually come from the military. They usually come from the Army, Navy.
Oh yeah, that's exactly, and they're my favorite. When I was at the VA, they work the hardest. They're yes, no, yeah. I love it. That's exactly.
And when you're a dentist on an aircraft carrier, the first thing the captain of the ship tells you is, okay, he lines up and says, okay, go pick a dental assistant. Exactly. and they just go pick some kid, and that he's cursed for life. But thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, these kids just love it, and you're just crushing it. And thank you for coming on and sharing.
Of course.
And
thank
giving
you so
them,
much.
showing them the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, there is. Just don't get too much debt. Just don't buy that really nice Lamborghini just yet.
Yeah. Just, I mean, and the other thing is when you only work 4 days a week and you have Friday and Saturday off, Friday you go golf. Well, that's expensive.
Yeah.
Then Saturday you go to Home Depot and start a residential bathroom repair project. But when you're just working 6 days a week, I was lucky. Sunshine Dental was open 7 days a week. So I was working 7 days a week. And the best thing about that, I couldn't go spend any money on my apartment in a Section 8 housing project that was, just that had bullet holes in the dumpster. I always empty the trash very quickly. And but hey, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
And if you ever want to do it again, just let me know.
Thank you so much, Doc. I'll see you later.